Hello, today we're in the Galloway house for Backstage Pass. I'm going to talk about the descendants of Edwin P and Genevieve Galloway. They had 5 children, but I'm actually going to talk about one child in particular, their daughter and her family. Mary was born in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin in 1920. When she was old enough, she went to Marymount College in Tarrytown, New York for her undergraduate and master's work, and she got her law degree from the University of Wisconsin in 1944. She worked in a USO in Biloxi, Mississippi, for only white servicemen, of course. It wasn't long before she was ordered out of town by a USO official setting up joint programs with Biloxi's Black USO. After the war, Mary moved to Chicago and to Friendship House, a Catholic-sponsored center that struggled to build interracial harmony in an almost totally segregated city. Like other white staff members, she lived in the neighborhood, one of Chicago's oldest Black ghettos. Then, Mary met David James. Both of them worked in Friendship's after-school program for children. They had so much in common, including their Catholic religion, that skin color didn't matter. By that time, Mary had lived in the Black community for 3 years and felt at home. But who was David James?
David James was born in St. Louis, Missouri in 1923, the 4th of 10 children. In 1929, his parents, William and Ada, had moved a family to the Chicago Woodland area. David graduated from Lane Technical High School in 1941 and attended Loyola University for a year. He volunteered and began his service in September 1942 with the 332nd Fighter Group, Class 44B at Tuskegee. He was flying a single-engine pursuit planes. By the end of his tour in February 1946, James had obtained the rank of lieutenant and flown several missions overseas. He returned to Loyola to finish his degree in classical language. During his college years, he was involved with the Federated Colored Catholics, a faith-based group involved in personal spiritual growth. His involvement led to an opportunity to volunteer with a new experimental group known as the Friendship House in 1946. David married Mary Galloway in 1949 and the same year graduated with honors from Loyola University. David could only find employment driving a truck. David and Mary settled in Park Manor on Chicago's south side to raise a family, and their involvement with the Friendship House continued, as did their interest in social justice. David eventually landed a job as a senior sales manager at an electronics company, and Mary continued as a public service lawyer. David's career flourished after graduating from DePaul University in 1953 with a law degree. He was hired by the American Bar Association, the first African American to be hired there. He later became the director of the American Bar Association's Division of Public Service. He also continued to volunteer at the Friendship House as a speaker. His involvement led to workshops and forums relating to integration of neighborhoods in Chicago's suburban North Shore. James' involvement in the Friendship House eventually brought them to Winnetka. Winnetka entered a new chapter in its history in June of 1967 when the James family moved into the village. David James and his family was the first African-American family to purchase a home in Winnetka during the 20th century. The last family that may have purchased a home was the Scott family, circa 1880. The James family consisted of David and Mary and their 6 children, Tom, Kathy, David, Mary Ann, and Peter.
Mary gave birth to her children at the Old Louis Maternity Hospital, where Black patients were segregated from whites, and she was put with Black women. Mary was quoted saying, "I've always been happy to live wherever my husband felt comfortable." Their marriage lasted 47 years until Mary died in 1996. But she accomplished several things in her life. She was a lawyer and social activist, and in 1965, David and she went to watch Martin Luther King Jr. speak at Winnetka's Village Green. After that speech, Mary came up with an idea for a day camp to help integrate the area and started it in their backyard. Twig Day Camp, Together We Influence Growth, is still going strong, and although they had to cancel 2020 and 2021, they are looking forward to welcoming campers back in 2022. Mary was known as an artist, a writer, and a musician. For 20 years, she worked for business and professional people for the public interest, a public interest law firm, retiring at the age of 75.
This month we recognize the accomplishments of the descendants of the James family
and Mary Galloway James.
and their contributions to Black history in America. Thank
you.